One Donut Podcast. The views and opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Two Cops One Donut, its host, or affiliates. The podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. We do not endorse any guests' opinions or actions discussed during the show. Any content provided by guests is of their own volition, and listeners are encouraged to form their own opinions. Furthermore, some content is graphic and has harsh language. Viewer discretion advised and is intended for mature audiences. Two Cops, One Donut and its host do not accept any liability for statements or actions taken by guests. Thank you for listening. Well, all right. Welcome back, Eric Levine, Two Cops, One Donut. And we're doing something different today. Me and my guest here, it would be the Florida House of Representatives, Mike Giolombardo. Is that how I say it?
That's good, man. You said it right.
All right. He is the District 79 Republican out of Florida. More importantly for me, he is a military member, veteran as well. And he's just a good dude that I've had on the show before. So the best part about this show, guys, is we don't have to go down that long, boring path of who are you, where you from, you guys already have it. So if you want to know more about Mike, go check out our previous episode we did about maybe a year and a half ago.
That's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
What episode is this for you?
Oh, I don't know, like 160, 170, somewhere up there.
Good, man.
Yeah, just popping them out like pills, man. Actually, it's slowed down quite a bit since I went to nights. I'm on midnights now, so it's yeah. So one of the cool things that we have here, Mike, that we've never done for a podcast. Now, this is not a body cam review live, guys. This is an actual podcast. So we are going to be able to see the chat and answer questions. So if any of your people are on here and checking this out, Mike, and I don't know if your LinkedIn added or not, paired channels. I'm not seeing it, but that doesn't mean that it's not showing. It's not working. So you might want to check your channel just to see. If it didn't work, it's no big deal. We'll just keep going.
I don't know. I don't even know how to check, to be honest with you.
Basically, if you open up your LinkedIn in a new tab or check on your phone, you should be able to go to your page and see if it's showing a live feed. You know what I mean? So
it's showing.
It's showing
Something 2 minutes ago. It says live.
Okay. What I can do is I can check on my end. Not that this is not a huge make it or break. We're not going to stop regardless. But Mike Gia, right there. He was my top pick when I typed in Mike. But if I go to his page, it is not showing for me, sir. Oh well. Is what it is. What we can do is we can go back to my page. If I can get it to go to my page, I can check and see if that live is on there. And then what we'll do is we'll just share the link if it's showing up. But I am not seeing it at the moment. It might have there it is. So yeah. I see us on there. Now I am going to.
You got more people on yours anyways.
Well, it's important that your people get to see you. So
we can just share it.
There we go. I just text you on LinkedIn. So if you check your LinkedIn, you might be able to share it from there. And I can also tag you, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Gia. There we go. Comment.
Oh, there it is. Come on.
Got you, boo. I got you, boo. That's what we do. So let me.
Good stuff, man.
There we go. Now we got it working. So this is going to be an interactive podcast. So it's going to be kind of a first of its kind for me. I'm sure there's people out here that have done it. But basically, if you're watching this, feel free to chime in, ask questions.
For me too.
Terry Gaduri, says you're both good. So
Oh,
I like it. All right. So today's topic, guys, this is what the whole podcast is going to be about. Is we're going to talk about technology and policing, basically technology that's coming over here from all over the world. Specifically, I think we might focus a little bit on China and possible threats, things that we need to be aware of, and stuff that I believe Mike is trying to fight from his position as a House rep. Is that right, Mike?
yeah, yeah. Listen, we're working on a lot of stuff here in Florida and making sure that our foreign adversaries don't not only buying our land, but making sure that they don't take over our technology too.
That's what I like to hear. As long as we are aware of the potential issue and that we're getting ahead of it and we're talking about it now, I do think we might be a little behind the curve.
I would agree.
Yeah.
We are behind the curve. I
Um,
mean,
f-
it's happening
from
every.
from what I've been hearing is that we're finding technology that we've already got in existence, and we're finding spyware, we're finding listening devices, AI devices in stuff that we're using every day, even in police technology, and that is a huge concern.
So I'll tell you, when I first got elected, our state sheriff's association came to me and they're like, "Hey, we want to run a bill. We want to expand the use of drones for policing because Florida had a lot of restrictions on drone use. So we were just gonna kind of expand the use to, big crowds, so for concerts and for different types of events, and just expand their ability to use drones a little bit further than what they could. While I was running this bill, I get a I get a note from the feds, and they're like, "Hey, listen, we got to talk." They said we got issue with the drone company. I'm not going to name any names or anything, but um, you know, there are some federal issues that are going on with with the drone company that is pretty much a company that's made out of company out of China that's providing an ass ton of drones
I
throughout
bet it
the.
rhymes with alibi.
That's good.
You like that?
They yeah. So when we did that, we were like, all right. So what are we gonna do? We kill it. Um, Drones are important use for officer safety, for public safety. Very efficient. So we said, you know what, we're gonna we're just gonna we're gonna create the standard on what they can and how they can use it. So we created the standard, certain cybersecurity frameworks that they had to meet, um, and just it ended the frameworks in itself and the standards in itself help prohibit that drone from operating in Florida. But it was shocking to me that 90% of the market share was this one drone company. And so we did it. We started seeing it. We started seeing more influence and more industrial espionage. Venture capital. You got to be careful with venture capital too. A lot of companies are raising a ton of money, which is great, right? They want to expand, want to grow, you want to innovate, keep the technology moving, you know. But some of the funding sources we got to be careful because they are from our adversaries, subsidiaries of China, Russia, different our different adversaries around the world. So we have to make sure that we are doing all the due diligence pieces that we can to ensure that we're not divulging all of our secrets. At the end of the day, it's purely monetary. They want to take our technology, produce it for pennies on the dollar, and we got to make sure that we protect it.
Well, now let's look at this also from an OPSEC purview. Let's look at it from you know, police information and things of that nature. So I'm trying to give you guys a view of how I look at it. One as a military member, and one how I look at it as a police officer. So first, I'm definitely more of a police officer than I'm a military member since I'm in the Air Force. Yeah, quasi military, sheriff force, whatever you will.
I don't know. You guys used to help us by dropping bombs on stuff.
Yeah,
Listen,
they like that's the real Air Force. I'm not in that part of the Air Force. course. When you come through the gate, I just salute you and look at your ID and say, thank you. Please come again. And so from a police perspective, here's the real of what I see um, when we're talking about potential spyware, Chinese spyware in our stuff. Now, let's just go with drones just to start off with. It is going to be able to update with information, data information to the Chinese. I don't know how instantaneously, but everything that drone flies over and sees is now updated information on infrastructure, any infrastructure, whatever you're flying over, our hospitals, our power grids, our whatever, and they're going to compile all of that data. And that information not only can be useful for them if they ever plan to do something dumb, but it can also be sold off to other people that may plan to do something bad to us, whether it's terrorists or Russia or whoever it is. So that's just something to consider. Not to mention some of the other things that we have that are integrated with our information systems, like our NCIC, TCIC. This is our national database. Like if I'm sitting in the car and I start to run your plate, this is all the information that comes back. That is very, like, for police, that's like our top secret information. We can't let your information, you citizens' information, get out there. So that's the big concern when we start talking about having the spyware stuff inside of our tech that us as police are using. Who's checking this stuff and vetting it before it gets to police? Because I'm telling you guys, police are not the technology experts that I can grab a drone, open it up, and go, oh, okay, yeah, look, there's spyware stuff there. That our government needs to help us on that. What do you think,
Well,
Mike?
you're right. You're absolutely right. But there's another side to this: is how you connect these drones. If you are connecting them to your network or to any type
Right,
of phone, Wi-Fi, or anything, I mean that information, that's telemetry data that is behind the scenes that is absolutely going to a foreign server.
right,
That because a drone is what's it seeing, and what you're doing with it is not necessarily because it is out there you being used outside in the public. It's not necessarily CGIS type data, but if you are connecting it to your network, that is a huge problem. And I would say that most agencies that I talk to don't, but I have had a handful of agencies that have connected it to their network, and they're connecting it to their little MiFis, or that are agency provided. All of that stuff is a big no, huge cybersecurity risk. And kind of dovetailing that into some of the cyber stuff, there is an astronomical amount of cyber attacks that are happening every single day to government agencies. It's all over the place.
y'all faced a big one in Florida not too long ago, right? That you had to help
Multiple.
combat. Yeah.
We had so when I was in session, we had a big hospital get hit. We had two hospitals get hit within a 6-month period. Locked up, ransomware, 13 days, couldn't operate.
Can you kind of explain to people what ransomware is and what the intentions behind it is?
Yeah, so it's pretty much data extortion. It is a type of malware. A lot of times they'll have a lot of surveillance reconnaissance that's done prior to that. They'll a phishing attack. And I'll tell you this, actually, in this case at one of the hospitals, it was somebody in records. They clicked on a link, nothing happened. Nothing happened. So like, oh, must be nothing. A few 3 months later, I mean, the forensics found that that's where the origination point was. But a few months later, they locked the hospital up. They essentially made admin accounts to some of the data, to some of the backups, locked the back down, locked the front down, and then asked for $10 million.
Whoo.
So that is,
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
hey, and so there is, at that point, there is no, I mean, they're having to get the FBI involved, and go through that whole process. But it is, I mean, government agencies. We had two government agencies in Florida get hit in the last few months. We've had a blood company get hit. One Blood, they got hit not too long ago. That was public. We've had a sheriff's department get hit. I had a legal counsel from a sheriff's department testify in my committee, and he said that it was the worst incident that he has ever in his life experienced. Worse than any hurricane. Worse than he said they came in, created a back, locked up the back, locked up the front. Couldn't use CAD, couldn't use RMS. They were taking all the calls with pen and paper. Jail systems all out of whack. It was and it lasted for a few months.
Damn.
And you don't know where any of your officers are. Everything is just, you just can't. All the technology is done.
Yeah.
And I will tell you one of the big things, aside from using inappropriate technology and allowing it to link to Chinese servers, is agencies, they don't have an inventory of what systems they are using. We see it all the time. An agency will have tons of different software programs and tons of different, different tools that they're using. And then half of them are never logged into or barely used. They're forgotten. They're paying a bill, and they just don't have an inventory of their systems. And then those become vulnerability points. And I know with some of the breaches that happen in government here in Florida, it is legacy systems that are working off of Windows 2003.
Oh
And
my God.
that's just, I mean, it is very unfortunate that 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 happens. And sometimes it's the procurement process too, right? The procurement just doesn't, or they buy this custom built tool because they think it's something that their RMS system is custom and it's all this, and then maybe the company is no longer supporting certain pieces of it, and so they're just constantly just kicking it down the road little by little by little by little by little. That's honestly why I'm a huge fan of cloud, because cloud is always going. You're passing your liability.
Right. And in my experience in law enforcement, I agree with you. Overall, what I see is, and this is a generality. It's not a slight towards my own department. It's just departments throughout the nation. And I'm a part of the National Real Time Crime Center Association. So this is kind of where I'm getting some of my information from. So people are like, well, how would you know if you're not traveling? I am traveling and I am talking to a lot of agencies, but it's because of that, not because of where I work. And I have noticed that you'll talk to people and they'll have technology that they don't even realize its capabilities. They're like, "Oh, we've got this and that, but we need our technology to do this." And we're like, "You have it. The stuff you have does that. You just aren't utilizing it yet."
Yep.
And it, like, for instance, there's a company called First Two, and use them religiously at work. And I got to talking to some of these other agencies, like, yeah, we have that, but we've got TLO and Clear, and we just use those, And I'm like, well, don't you guys ever do like field work and stuff like that? And they're like, well, yeah, we'll pull it up on the MDC if we got a computer, da 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 da. And I'm like, you do realize that First Two can work on your phone, and then it has Google Maps, and it's got these layers, and I'm trying to explain to it, and they don't even know what their own tech does, let alone have a compilation of the tech that they have. There's going to be people that know, like their IT guys may know some of it, but then you get officers, they're talking to a company directly and they're getting a free trial and they're adding it to their stuff. And the IT guy has no clue. He's not kept in the loop. He doesn't know.
You gotta
Now
let
we're now we're adding softwares and stuff to agencies because we're trying a free trial out and nobody knows. So like you're right. These are all parts of the problem. We don't know
well,
what we
well,
have.
you and I chatted a few minutes ago before this, and we talked about the real time crime centers and how they're starting to blow up, and everybody wants one. I mean, these were talks when we
Right.
were in like tactical operations centers. We had them in Iraq. They were in shipping containers, right, in the
Right.
middle of the desert. And so, what I think happens is that they're like, real time crime center. Okay, we need all these tools. These are the tools we need, right? I think nobody's really defining their mission with each tool, right? Knowing, say, hey, this is kind of building what their courses of action and what they're going to use each tool for, how it's going to solve their problem, how it's going to do X, Y, and Z, kind of build a plan behind that, and then execute on that plan. and part of that is understanding what its full capabilities are,
Yeah.
understanding how it's used, what are the things can we use it for, maybe we can use this technology for multiple purposes. And if you look at some tools, right, we're just saying, these different tools to research data. You also have to ask yourself, how many times are you purchasing the same data?
Yeah.
Because some of these tools, right, maybe you're using it to validate information, but it's all from the same source,
Right.
right? So you have 5 different tools, and you're like, oh, I'm searching all this. Wow, it's all in the same, but it's actually a single source.
Yeah.
It's
You're
all
paying
from
for
the same data
redundancy.
repository. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's just trying to figure out and understand, like, where what your mission is, what you're trying to achieve, and then I'm going to take this technology, and why is this technology going to be important for us, and what are we going to achieve with it. And I think that sometimes gets lost. And then after a year, figure out, go back and look and say, hey, has anybody logged into this? If they haven't, why not?
Yeah.
Right? Why are we paying for all of this when we don't need it?
Yeah.
And that, that's something else that you got to take a look at.
Yeah, and I give, I don't mention where I work on the podcast, but I keep those separate. But I give credit to where I am because we are on top of that for the most part, from my understanding. And it's pretty cool to know, like, we're trying to foresee future problems and making sure that we're taking care of that. And I have seen it in real life where we're like, hey, we're looking at this tech and we're hearing what they do, and we have our experts there, our IT guy, like, all of these people are always included in every single thing that we do. And they're like, no, we've already got a tech that does that, and here's where they're at, and their siege is compliant, so we've already vetted them, we know that we're following proper protocols and things like that. But I come from a large agency, and I think 95% of agencies are like 20 officers or less. Like,
Yeah.
what what services do they have to provide protection for themselves? Do they have the funding for that? Are they watching out for stuff like that?
Well, quite honestly, I mean, we talked about technology being so expensive. Most of those
Mm-hmm.
20 or so officer agencies can't even afford the
Yeah, but
technology
then
that they
then they're
need.
getting government grants. Where are those government grants coming from? Who's behind pushing getting that money and doing the paperwork? Because a lot of times you'll see they'll offer grant paperwork services to get you that money.
Yep.
And that's crazy to me, because who, like I said, who's vetting it? Who's checking this stuff out? Who's making sure that the person that's doing this paperwork for you has the best intentions?
That's right.
And then when that grant runs out, like, now we're talking money problem. We kind of got off topic here with the technology, but part of the problem is when you start going down the line with these grants and the money runs out, like, were you thinking ahead? Because as soon as that grant money runs out, if you don't have the option to renew it, now you got to figure out how you're going to further use this technology, because it's going to come out of somebody's pocket. Otherwise, you're going to lose it,
Yep.
especially if it's important,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like LPRs and stuff like that. It's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of people, but LPRs for the most part are pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things for police work. It's one of the reasons I like them so much.
Well, they're
But
effective too. Like
yes,
they are
yeah,
effective.
you're catching a lot of bad guys with the LPRs. It's probably single-handedly one of the best tools that have come out in the last 15, 20 years. So,
Yep.
um, for sure like it. But, you know, part of the technology issues and stuff like that is we're finding, like, with drones, they're so effective. So the addiction to them hits so quick and so hard because you see how great they can be. And you're like, oh my God, it's one of the best crime fighting tools ever. And then what?
Well, and that's, when I ran that drone bill, I did have a lot of, officers and folks that was like, oh, you were going to expand the use. Now you're taking away a type of drone. You're making it harder to use these drones. And, you got to kind of outweigh you know, the technology and the conveniency for, security. Right. And so
Yep.
then we looked at it and said, okay, so let's, and I think that there's companies here in the States that are starting to do well, develop drones here in the U.S. I know.
Yep.
I think there's Skydio and there's different companies that are really like
I
trying to
think
push
Aerodome is one of them.
Aerodome. Yeah, I
I
think
think.
so.
Yeah.
There's a couple. We have a couple in Florida that are pretty big. I know that Lockheed's got a law enforcement drone they're trying to get out.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's we got we're pushing the envelope a little bit and trying to make sure that our U.S. companies are going to start producing these things too.
Yeah.
Got to get them going. So I think
Um.
Axon bought Skydio.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe
Okay.
so. Don't
Axon
quote.
buying
Well,
up Axon buying up all the good companies lately. They're such a powerhouse, man.
yeah.
I'm going to the comments. Greg Eliason said, "Isn't the NCIC federal? Can't it be protected by FIB IT people?" Maybe I'm ignorant. No, you're absolutely right. NCIC is federal, and for the most part, yeah, you want the protections, but then the problem lines up. Like if a police department's going with a technology, they're separate from the federal government. They're not checking on their local police departments to make sure they're doing everything right. That what they usually do is they're behind the curve and they're figuring out, oh, this department's got this company and they've already done, 45 searches with this, and now their software is infiltrated our system. Like these are the
Yeah.
problems that we run into.
Well, yeah, because the feds usually rely on each state's, state CGIS authority, whoever I'm sure
Hmm.
in Texas, actually in Texas, it's Texas Department of Public Safety.
Yep.
Florida, it's Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So they rely and depend on a lot of those. I mean, very rarely are you ever going to see the feds come in and try to, kind of take control of what platform or tech company that anybody's using.
Yeah. Terry said if your organization earns it internally, they don't have to have allegiance to the government for a grant. That's true,
Mhm.
but not every agency, you got a population of 4,000. You're not earning much unless you're just out there hammering, some interstate with a ton of tickets. And then even that money, this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand in law enforcement is that ticket money, that revenue that they're trying to get with tickets, it doesn't always go right to the police department. Sometimes it just goes to the city in itself, and then they dictate where that money goes. So that's why I say, like, if you're out there generating revenue, if you're one of those types of cities, like, is all that money going back to the police department?
Well, and I would also, question how, that process too, because if you're, we had a city in Florida that I think like one third of the revenue came from like one speeding ticket, one speeding trap.
Right.
And so the legislature just dissolved that city. Like they just,
Yeah. I mean, it's
they
wrong. I don't
yeah,
think we shouldn't be generating money as cops for anything. That's not the purpose. The purpose should be for public safety. Oh, we ran a speed trap here because we had complaints, we've had fatalities, we've had this,
correct.
not because we need a new toy.
Yep.
Like that's fucked up. And I shouldn't be doing that.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that's why Florida and Texas get along so well.
That's right. We do. We do. Hey, listen, man, we have, where Eagle Pass is?
It sounds familiar.
It's
Not
down by
sure.
the border.
Okay.
Yeah, so Florida, their troopers, our state guard. I mean, we had that manned for quite a while. So
That's right. I did hear about that. Yeah, y'all came over and helped us out, and
yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
man.
badass, dude.
Texas is. You guys are.
We're fighting the good fight, man.
You're fighting a good fight.
Yeah,
You're on a kind of a little bit of a battlefield there with
I
the
know. It's crazy. And now look, we got Venezuelan gangs and whatnot going
all
rampant.
over. Oh yeah.
Um, like us as law enforcement, we're sitting here looking at this and we're like, is this coming this way? Because we need to be like, I heard it was in Colorado.
Oh, in Colorado, there's a whole community there. You got it in. I was talking to some of our friends up in NYPD. They're dealing with it too. Um, California's dealing with it. I
Yeah.
mean, it is all over. and then
m
infiltrating everywhere.
my personal somebody was asking me earlier, like, if I've experienced anything like that, and I haven't experienced it rampantly or anything like that personally, but I have seen, I worked a case of a Honduran, militant guerrilla. Like, I I get this, as a detective, I got this call. It was a shots fired, ag assault type thing. Nobody was hit or killed, but it was an automatic like AK that was fired off and a pistol. And so, as I'm digging into it, long story short, it was a I was able to find this guy's Facebook page and find his twin brother. He had an ag assault warrant written for him for assaulting his twin brother. His brother was sleeping, and he stood on the bed and shot on both sides of his head with a pistol. He didn't hit him, but like the dude was sleeping, wakes up, and his psycho brother's like drunk and shooting a gun off at him, like to mess with him. And then here I've got this elderly Hispanic couple. They only speak Spanish, trying to back out of a driveway. They get a little too close to my bad guy's car that's parked in the street that he's inside of, and jumps out of the car, grabs a pistol, starts to threaten them. And now the Hispanic male victim is like, he doesn't speak English. And so they're both yelling at each other in their language, and starts to go back to his van. Well, now my Honduran gorilla, goes and grabs a fully auto AK and lights up the back of this guy's van. Doesn't hit anybody, but you looked at the grouping, like he had he had experience shooting a fully automatic AK. Like the
Oh,
grouping was,
he's probably trained where he was
yep,
from.
yep. And when I found his Facebook page, like he showed him in pictures with his unit and all that stuff, and I'm like, what the hell? And he had been deported before. So I was able to get a hold of ICE, inform them and the ATF, and they ended up going and finding him and getting him and getting. So I'm pretty sure he's
Well,
doing
it's got to be a lot even more difficult for law enforcement because when you come across some of these folks, they don't have a profile.
right.
Like
Yeah,
you know nothing about them. They don't have a profile. They don't have a, you know, you can't get them with any facial rec or can't get them with any, there's nothing on them.
right.
They're
I know.
ghosts operating
Yeah,
within the United States.
yeah. And how do you combat that? Like, you have nothing. I have no fingerprint database. I have nothing. Most of the documents that you get on these guys are all manufactured. So I just had a Venezuelan that I had to deal with, and his ID was fake. It had a FBI watch list thing for him. It ended up being not the same guy, so I was able to confirm that. But still, like, me as a regular street cop, like, dealing with this stuff, this is way beyond me, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
It's,
hard to explain that to people. They're like, "Well, you're a cop, you should know." No, I don't know that. Like, if the NCIC didn't give me a phone number and let me know who to call and what to ask, like, I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have been calling my intel, calling, that investigation in itself would have taken me away from 10 other calls for the night, because it would have wrapped me up for hours trying to figure that out.
yeah.
And then you get, as a police officer, you're on that cusp of like, do I have a right to keep holding this person? Because the rules and regulations for a police officer are much different than a federal agent and, some of these other agencies, three-letter agencies. And if I had to let him go and he ends up being like this really nefarious person, like, that's on my conscience now. So
Is there training for the everyday street cop on some of these things that you're going to come? I mean,
I'm sure there is, but the thing is like, who's signing up for it? It's not going to be mandatory, because now you're taking a class on something that is so few and far between right now for us. Like, how do you justify? We have so many mandated courses. How do you justify that? Because now the citizens are going to be like, as soon as you get into use of force, well, why was he in this, you know, Venezuelan intel course versus going to
what
some
type
sort of
of
use of force course?
what time you guys got a lot of mandated courses? We do. I mean, I'm still in the military.
Me too, baby.
Oh,
Represent.
you too?
Yeah, I'm still in. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do
You
the
know,
IMA Air Force Reserves. So
gotcha.
I'm attached to an active duty unit down in Lackland, the 802nd baby. Shout out to them, security forces, and I do my 24 days a year
That's
all
that
at.
right.
What's that?
That's that right.
Yeah, yeah, SF baby. Yeah, SF. You got to tell people. You can interpret it however you want. You can look at old Levine and be like, "Oh, he's special forces." Hey, I didn't tell you I wasn't. Oh,
Yeah.
how do you like? By the way, I went full Tom Selleck for you today.
Okay.
So this is a retro rifle shirt. Now they're not official sponsors yet, but
But
Tom
you're gonna
Selleck. Yeah, I'm trying to get them. Tom Selleck and Magnum PI. This is a remake of their shirt. So what Retro Rifle does is they hide weapons. I don't know if you can see it very well. I'm trying to get there's a
okay.
gun.
Hey, I see it right there.
There's a gun right there. But it's the same shirt that Tom Selleck wore in Magnum PI. And so, but they added guns to it. And then of course I always wear a Detroit hat. So it's like, damn, I look Tom Selleck as fuck today. So
I like it. I like that
uh,
shirt. What do you just ordered online from them?
yep, retrorifle.com, man. They're badass. And you're a Florida guy, so you should be the Boogaloo movement all the time, baby.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna. You know what? That might be a nice little gift for myself when I go back to
Oh,
Coast
dude,
State.
they're so nice. They got a little stretchiness to them. They're really good quality, so like you don't feel like you're wearing a cheap shirt. And they're
Can you throw a tie on that thing?
you can the collar buttons up. So underneath there's buttons, so you can either go relaxed where the collar lays down, or you can, I'm on a podcast, so I had to be business, so I buttoned it up.
Yeah, maybe I'll get one, throw a tie on there, and wear it on the house floor.
Oh my god, if you did with a jacket on it would look great.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. You could be red, white, and blue. I mean, and they've got
that's
they've got I mean, there's so many different themes that they do, but you can get definitely 4th of July ones, all red, white, and blued up, guns all over it, just screams freedom.
it does.
So but while we're at it, sir, I like to since we're doing a live and my normal ad spots are not going to be playing, so I'm going to give my sponsors some shout outs. The first one that I want to go down while we're here is I want to talk about Ghost Patch. So you guys, you've seen me wear this my vest when I make my little shorts, and you see this little metal badge that's always on there. It's by Ghost Patch and it's a flex shield. So it looks like a real badge. It looks metallic. It's not. It's all bendy and flexy. The idea is like you can replace your real badge with this one, and then it can get all scratched up and messed up, and you're only out, $20. So they're pretty cool. Check out Ghost Patch at Ghost Patch. I haven't had that much to drink, I swear. Ghostpatch.com. I love their little things. They're the purveyors of cool shit. So as you could tell, most of my sponsors kind of fit my personality. That's why I go with them.
Well, that's why you
Um,
got to get the shirt company there.
I know, I know. I definitely want to get them. Another big one that you know of, Peregrine. You can go to, it's like the bird, Peregrine. Go to peregrine.io. And that's for law enforcement specifically. If you're looking to turn your worst detective into Sherlock Holmes, and this is my saying, not theirs, but basically that's what they do. It is able to pull all the data from all of your internal things, um, like your RMS, your GangNet, your whatever little thing you have, your body cam stuff, and put it into a one-stop shop for leads and stuff like that. It's hard to explain. It's so deep. The rabbit hole goes so deep with them, but to me, it's going to change law enforcement. Like we were talking about LPRs, that's how I look at Peregrine. They're going to change the game like that. So check them out, peregrine.io. And then I think the last one that I will mention is if you're looking for LPRs, Insight LPR, go check them out at Insight. Reach out to me specifically for any of these, and I will get you connected with the right people. If you're looking to get LPRs and you want basically what I call the Chick-fil-A of customer service and great nighttime reads, probably the best that are out there over any other LPR company, and commercial mobile data. That's what you're going to get with all those guys. I can
So
actually get you 3 months of free commercial mobile data.
wait
So
a minute. Wait a minute. Did you say Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A.
Better than Chick-fil-A service?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know, right? I know that's a bold statement, but I'm
That
making
is
it.
a bold statement.
It is a bold statement because everybody knows Chick-fil-A has the nicest employees.
You know what you need to do? You need to get Chick-fil-A to sponsor you.
I got God's chicken on my side. I don't know anybody at Chick-fil-A, but I would be a proud sponsor of Chick-fil-A as well. I like that spicy chicken sandwich. It is good. It is good.
It is.
But anyway, that's all for the um ad spots there, guys. I got them out of the way. I apologize to any of my sponsors who are like, well, normally you play an ad. Well, this is my first live podcast I've done, and this is how I'm doing it. So is what it is.
This is your first?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never done a actual like podcast live. I always do like, it's a bunch of us cops bullshitting on here. We bring up a topic, but then it's always for body cam live stuff.
Okay.
So, and that's what draws in a bunch of people. It's always like people know a few days in advance. Like you and me, we just did this on the spot.
Yeah, we weren't even planning on doing
And we weren't. We were going to do a traditional podcast that I would do where I edit the episode afterwards and clip it up and do all that stuff. But this one's going to be live, and I will upload the audio later on today, and then people will have it available so they can just listen to this whole thing. So that's how we're going to roll. But let's get back on topic, man.
Yeah.
First and foremost, if everybody's listening, you're like, who the hell is this guy? I'm going to share my screen real quick. And I want you guys to see Mike's page here. He's out of the 79th district, Florida. I'm not even sure where that's at. Cape Coral?
Cape Coral. Yeah. Down by Fort Myers.
Okay. And I'm just scrolling through. Oh, it's even got your spouse on here. Wife, Wendy, children, Luca, Presley, and Ively. This thing is pretty detailed, sir. I like that. Oh, and you got your degree in criminal justice. See, you wanted to be a cop.
That's right.
I can see that. But it says you moved to Florida in 92. Where are you originally from?
So I was born in Wisconsin.
Oh, you're a Midwesterner like me.
Yeah.
I'm from Michigan, sir.
In Illinois a little bit, and then ended up down in Florida in elementary school. Spent most of my childhood here in Cape Coral, and then went off to college. Played football, joined the military, went to Iraq, came back. When I first came back from Iraq, my wife, she was living in Broward County, and we were there for a little while. I got out of the military at the absolute worst time. The economy just tanked. So,
okay.
My wife did a really good job of kind of sheltering. In the military, especially when you're overseas, you're kind of like sheltered, right? Like you don't know everything that's going around. I mean, you're overseas, you're doing your thing.
You're in a fishbowl.
Yeah, you are absolutely in a fishbowl. And when the economy's down everywhere, Washington, D.C., all the military installations, especially during wartime, they're not feeling any type of, recession, right? Yeah. It's business as usual. So I get out, come back, couldn't get a job. I mean, it was tough times. And then took a contract when I was with Lockheed Martin doing counter-terror work. Oh, what do you got?
Oh, Greg was asking. He said, Smoke Wagon or Buffalo Trace? He knows what I usually drink on here. Smoke Wagon today, Greg.
But, and I came back and just like, I'm going to get involved in politics. So the reason I started getting involved was I couldn't get insurance for my son because Obamacare provision. So I got insurance for him. So then I just was like, I'm going to get involved. I don't know what it takes. I don't know what to do, but I did. And here I am.
I like it.
Never thought I'd ever be in office.
I say there's nothing like a military politician. I love them.
But
I mean, there's some bad ones out there, but typically, I'm a big fan of them.
We got a lot of veterans in the Florida House. We have we have a retired one star. He was on the he was a judge on the bench for 27 years. Went to Afghanistan, got blown up. Highest ranking officer to get blown up in Afghanistan.
Oh,
Spent 18 months. I think he spent a good number of time in at Walter Reed. He is just the most incredible, humble man. Just a great guy. You would never would think that his experiences and it's good. It's good stuff.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's swing it back around. Let's get back on this topic of, people infiltrating our police technology and things of that nature.
Yeah.
With what you've learned, I want to kind of look at the future. Like, what is the game plan for y'all to start combating this? What are you proposing to do? And I want to kind of give people, like, I want some people to have something optimistic to look forward to.
So I actually ran a bill last year that right now with technology companies or with most organizations, there's no requirement for them to meet any of the cyber compliance or SOC 2, CGIS, PCS. There's no requirement. So I ran a bill that said if you meet one of these standards substantially, then you can get immunity from negligence cases. So right now we have a lot of trial attorneys that are going after hospitals and different entities based on negligence, especially in Florida, where if a hospital gets a breach, even though they've met all the HIPAA compliances that they can, they've done everything that they're required of, but they get hit. They now have to go and send an email out saying, "Hey, we experienced a breach. Your data may have been compromised," and now class actions. So now you get hit for hospital gets hit for $10 million in ransomware, and then gets a hit for another 10 million from negligence lawsuits. So what I'm trying to do is say, hey, listen, if you substantially meet these standards, any entity, then you get some protections. And I think that will help organizations to say, hey, well, it's beneficial for us to go and try to meet SOC 2, try to meet these different requirements, which then secures the technology. That's one way. But I think that we are in a very odd time, um, era, I would say, here, because now you have foreign adversaries that are attacking governments, that are attacking private entities, that are attacking. It's never been done. And then you couple that with AI and all of this new technology that's coming out that most people don't really understand as much as you would think. They just know, oh, I either want AI or I'm scared of it. They don't really know. They don't really know what AI or machine learning really does and how it will, and what it will do for you, especially in the law enforcement space. That word is thrown out there a lot.
Yeah.
And and I guess before you go buy something, truly ask yourself, do you know what it is? Do you know what it'll do for you? Do you know what this really means? Um, so I think those are the things that we have to look at. And for Florida, I mean, we're working on cybersecurity standards and trying to figure out how do we encourage those who do it. So
Yeah, it's for law enforcement. I don't know how we as law enforcement can start checking for things that we don't know exist, if that makes sense. Like, if for instance, and I'll just throw a company out there, let's just say like DJI. I know people like to use that one. Let's just say I was going to use DJI. How do I, as a law enforcement officer, start checking the product? Who do we go to? Do you know? Like, is there anybody that you know? Is there a company? Is a government agency, whatever, that we're like, hey, we want to get this. We don't know how to check it ourselves. Can you guys check it for us?
early on when I got out, I started working with, we built Iris, we started doing a lot of technology reviews, working with agencies, especially with this new crime center, intelligence center, whatever you guys want to call it, started popping up. We started helping them kind of structure their intelligence architecture. And by doing that, we started vetting out a lot of different technology. We always ask, you have APIs, these are things that you can take away, if anybody who's listening or watching, do you have APIs? Do you integrate with any other data sources? Where was your platform built? Um, you know,
Yeah,
they throw it
Origin's a big tell.
built here in the U.S., but if did you farm it out to Indian companies? Because I'm going to be just straight up honest with you, 2/3 of the companies in India have been bought out by subsidiaries in China. A lot of the development companies. So China plays a long game when especially comes to technology. I mean, they're looking at different things and they're playing the 100-year game.
Yeah,
So they're purchasing these massive companies, knowing that they build a lot of the technology. So who's building it? Who has access to the data? These are a lot of different questions that we always encourage to ask. Right?
yeah,
Take a look at the contract.
yep,
Um, See what happens if you decide to move from them. Are they? How do you get your data back? Right?
yeah,
Who owns it? Who
yeah,
owns the data? Right?
yeah,
Is it, and that all of that is so important. And if they throw AI out there, what is the model? What's the learning model? Because think of AI like a kid, right? You feed it information, right? It's going to learn, right? It's going to learn, it's going to grow, and it's as good as the information that you give them.
and eventually Skynet and kills you.
That's right. So, but if you take a kid and you put say a kid goes to a well-off private boarding school, they're going to be grounded and learn what that boarding school provides them, right? The information that they're giving. If you take another kid who is, don't have parents, maybe in and out of foster care, and they've lived on the streets most of their life, they're going to have a very different type of information or intelligence that they have. Right. So think of that same thing. And so when I always pitch to law enforcement, like see what type of AI these models are learning from, right?
Yep.
Is it grounded, or is it grounded within side of do you get to control how that AI model is learning, or is it somebody else controlling it?
Right.
Right.
Is your AI localized inside your own internal
Right.
data,
Yep.
or is it housed in another country? Is it housed in a server somewhere locally? It, even if it is in a server somewhere locally, you don't know what that server's connected to, and you could be feeding information directly to your enemy.
You have no clue.
You have no
So,
clue. So
yep.
definitely make sure your information is yours. Make sure it stays internal. Make sure that nobody has control or is able to gain remote access. That is to include the company you're buying from. Like these are things that you need to do as a law enforcement agency if you're going to start getting into these tech companies. Knowing where they're from is huge. Like if you're buying it and it's made in China, like it's probably a bad idea. Um, if it's made in America, like that's huge. That's a good step, but that still doesn't protect you guys. I want people to be very clear. Just because it's made in America doesn't mean it isn't owned by somebody foreign. So you got to be careful.
Yep.
Now, you're doing all right if you're sticking with your allies. I know some people got hung up because they were buying South Korean stuff, and I'm like, well, that's an ally. Like I'm okay with that if I'm going to go foreign. I want them to be allies. I definitely don't want to be somebody who's not an ally or somebody that is an enemy.
Yeah, and there quite honestly, there are some allies that do have, some of the
Yeah.
companies are getting bought up by
Yep.
by Chinese entities. So I mean,
Yep.
you just got to do your due diligence. Make
Yeah.
sure that you know where the data's coming. You know more about your project, and IT's great, um, but sometimes IT, I look at everything, maybe I shouldn't, but I look at everything kind of like the military. Most, and you have a different perspective of it, but if you are not everybody in the army that is in support, you're supporting the infantry because
Right.
they're the ones going to war,
Your ground
right?
level troops.
Ground level troops. So everybody's an enabler for them. So, I've talked to different IT departments, and when we were doing a lot of these, we were doing tech reviews for agencies and helping them develop, their crime centers and their intel centers. And we'd go to IT and they'd be like, no, they can't use that. No. And I'm like, whoa, your job is not to tell them no. Your job you know, is to help them get to yes,
Yeah.
right? They know that they need this capability. You need to help them solve and help them get to yes. And that is just the mentality that I have. And that's
Yeah.
what I always encourage, especially, with the IT side, because IT will tell them no. Like, no, you can't, we can't do this. And then there's, the agency, the chief's like defeated, like,
Yep.
so it's
Yep.
like, no, no, no. Your job is to help them find yes, like help them get to yes.
Yeah. Shout out to my auntie, Lisa. She says hi. So, um, yeah, I think what you said is something that gets lost in law enforcement quite a bit, but at the end of the day, we're trying to support our street officers, which is, the correlation with your ground troops, your infantry. We are trying to do what is in their best interest because at the end of the day, they're the frontline guys. However, politics get involved. So,
No,
lobbyists, special interest, all that stuff. And I don't really do politics on this show, but since this directly correlates to police work, I'm okay with it. And anytime it directly, I had brought up Trump saying that he wanted to get federal immunity for all law enforcement officers. And at first I was like, ugh, you didn't explain that. So automatically I'm like, no, I don't want that. Like, I don't know what it is because you didn't explain it. So I don't want it. Because
did
I
you find
don't,
out what it is?
I did. So basically, what he was trying to do, and so I'm on board with it now, is he wants to, like New York, some of these states that have gotten rid of qualified immunity, which they have
Yeah,
no right to do. He wants to say, okay, well, if you're going to try to get rid of qualified immunity on the state side, federally, we're going to still protect them and they're going to be fine because that was the intention of it to begin
gotcha.
with. You
Okay.
cannot take a legal protection and take that away for a political move. And so with that, I'm like, okay, now I'm on board.
Yeah.
And people jump my shit right away. Like I'm like, look, I don't just blindly follow something that isn't explained to me. You got to tell me. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't think cops deserve to be just blanket protected. I think just like what qualified immunity says in its very first word, you have to qualify. You don't just get it, you have to qualify for it. And the judge determines if you're qualified for it.
Yeah.
Because if you're a cop and you maliciously broke a law against a citizen, you don't deserve it. So you're not qualified. So you don't get it.
If you're doing
And
your job and
but if you're
something,
doing your job and you got, you had the best intentions at heart and shit just went wrong, because as we know, you being a military guy, like you could have the best intentions of the world. You lay down a building, you do whatever, you shoot into a building, all of a sudden there was, a couple innocent people in there that you're defending yourself, shooting against somebody that's shooting at you. Like that's a common military thing that happened.
yeah,
You do a drone strike, you get as much intelligence on there as you can. And you're like, okay, to our best knowledge, we're like 90% sure there's no other people in there but enemies. And then lo and behold, there was one person that wasn't an enemy in there. And it's just, it's the nature of the beast. It is what it is, but you
yeah.
can't, you don't charge them for a war crime now because they went off of what they, trying to do.
No, that's right.
So
No, that's right.
that's
Absolutely.
that's how I feel about police work. If they're
Uh,
out there, you can tell if they're trying to do something malicious. You can tell if there's, something bad in their heart when they're doing it. If they were out there and just got caught in the shittiest of circumstances, the perfect storm, if you will. There's been some calls where they show up to a burglary in progress call at a house, and then the homeowner walks out and they get shot because they were armed because they were trying to defend their house. And like that's the perfect shitstorm. Like shit, the cop didn't show up there to go shoot the homeowner.
yep.
you know?
No clue.
So
He or she
yeah.
had no clue.
And
Yeah.
I bring that point up because it's happened a few times. Like it's not a one-off thing. It's happened multiple times where the homeowner comes out, they're armed, they don't, and if you're trying to show up to a burglary, you don't necessarily want to yell, police, police, come out. You like, you don't want to give up the element of surprise sometimes, depending on what your situation is. So,
Well, that
yeah,
and you're on edge, right? Like you're going into that situation, and you have to keep your head on a swivel. You
right.
have to, can't be complacent going in there. Um,
Yeah,
so when that whole mix of all of that, and dude
yeah,
walks out of the house with a fire, with a firearm, and
yeah.
you know and starts yelling back at the police, thinking that it's
It could be the burglar, somebody that they
correct.
think's outside. Yeah. Yep. And they might not even be aware. The cops are going around the house trying to be quiet and looking to make sure there's no, signs of forced entry. Meanwhile, your person inside wasn't even the one that called the cops. It was a nosy neighbor that saw somebody maybe trying to break in. And now you, the homeowner, hear somebody outside the house because this has happened. And now you come out with a gun. You're like, who the fuck's outside my house? And then you guys turn a corner, run into each other, and the worst of the worst happens.
Oh yeah.
And what's the public do? Want to string the cops up. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing when you do this stuff. You like, this is why we have qualified immunity. This is like, because you don't know what that cop knew at the time. And in that moment, that's the only way we should be able to judge these guys is in that moment. In that moment, I knew I had a burglar. I knew I had some noise. I went around the corner. I'm trying to make sure this house is secure. And all of a sudden, somebody comes around the corner with a gun. Like, how long do you wait? You know, how long do you wait? I ain't fucking waiting around.
Oh, no, no, no.
I want to get the first shot. Absolutely.
Yep.
So I don't
The
have a fix.
military is so different.
There are certain situations where you just don't have a good answer. You don't, and it's not good on either side. It sucks all the way around. But somebody always wants to blame something, and you got to understand, like, sometimes there's nothing to blame. It's just the situation happened the way it did. Can we learn from it, improve, try to change things so that doesn't happen again? Sure. But the wanting to point a finger at the citizen, wanting to point the finger at the cop, like, you're not coming from a good place, in my opinion. I think you should look at these situations and want to try to make sure it doesn't happen again, not without, putting somebody in jail or whatever, trying to make it
Yeah,
political.
yeah. We got pretty good laws in Florida for our law enforcement officers, and again, that's again trying to do whatever we can to to
Yeah.
protect to protect them, right?
Yeah.
From
You
you
got
know,
badass police agencies out there that I hear about all the time. Grady Judd. That's an awesome one. Flagler's badass. They got a cool real-time crime center. Let me see. There's another big sheriff out there. He's always on social media. I just cannot think of his name. It's not Lee County, I don't think. Is
Lee
it?
County. That's where I'm at.
Is it? Oh, Lee County's your thing.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
my
he's always in the media, isn't he?
yeah Carmine.
Carmine, that's right. Yes. That dude's awesome, dude. Yeah, Florida's got some cool, like, that's probably the elite of the elite when it comes to
So we
council
are
of sheriffs.
we are about to have so we have 67 counties in Florida. We are about to have so Miami-Dade County is the only county that does not have a sheriff.
Oh, okay.
So they had their own thing for a while. So we passed a bill said that Miami-Dade County had to have a sheriff, had to have constitutional officers. So now we are going through Miami-Dade County election for sheriff, first time in a long, long time. So, but
Okay.
that'll be interesting because that will be the single. I mean, that race right there will probably be between the two sides, $15 million.
Woo. Really?
Oh yeah, you got to like just between the two sides, probably seven. Each candidate or each side, Republican, Democrat, Probably
Yeah.
raised about 7 million.
Huh. Damn. Hey, if they want somebody to run, I'm down. But I'm not. I'm
You
not.
got to move to
I'm not.
Miami.
I'm not a
So
resident
we already have our they already have their Republican
candidate.
nominee, and
Okay.
we just went through the primaries.
Okay.
So that'll
Should have
be
let me know, man. I would have went out there to be a sheriff for sure. I'd have gave Grady a run for his money, man. I'd
Brady's
be
a good.
like 68. My guys carry 70 bullets, sir.
That's right. That's right.
He
Grady's
shot
a guy.
68 times because we ran out of bullets.
I think he's got his own little radio show or podcast too.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I think
No
he's got a little
shit.
radio
I've been
show.
wanting to get him on here. I actually made contact with somebody at his department, and they're like, "Yeah, he would love to do it," and then I just never heard back. So
I can
I'm gonna
reach
have,
out.
yeah, let me know.
Yeah.
He'd be great to get on, or I'd be on his. Either one. I don't give a shit. Just
Yeah,
be fun to talk to him.
so yeah, we got a lot of good, and we have laws like we call it a halo rule.
Halo
So
room.
yeah,
What's that?
so if there's an incident that's happening and there's people like trying to video it, they got to be 20 feet away from the
Oh,
officer.
okay. Okay.
Can't
I
get near.
don't like the designation of a certain distance.
Well, we had to put something on it, right? So
Well,
we
I like using landmarks. So like you can't come past that telephone pole and this curb over here or whatever it is, because
well, and I don't, and
if
I think
if if you go to court and you're like, you got to be 20 feet back, like how do I know mentally like where that is? Like I have an idea, and they're like, I was 20 feet, and like, did you measure it? And so the defense is just going to go to town on specific distance.
yeah, but I think that if the officer says, "Hey, don't pass this line," or "Don't pass that," and
Yeah.
it's just to keep everybody safe, right? Like at the end of
Right.
the day, if they're dealing with an incident, there's a
Yeah.
fight or something, and there's people trying to video it and they get too close. I mean,
Yeah.
cops, going to turn around and not going to want somebody on their back. So
Right. Well,
just
it's drawing attention away from where I need to keep my focus.
that's
I'm sitting here trying to keep my focus here,
yeah,
and people are like, "Well, they're not doing anything. You should be fine. Why are you so scared?" Because I have to keep looking. We just had a cop get killed in his car in Dallas.
yeah,
I mean, we get ambushed. People thinking that we're being paranoid. Like this officer went to a call to go to help. He stages, he quit teaching to go be a cop. I'm sorry. I think he retired from teaching, always wanted to follow his dream of becoming a cop, becomes a cop. It's the exact type of person that the public's been screaming for.
yeah,
He's experienced. He's got age on his side. He's physically fit like a beast. He's African American. I mean, we're checking every box. The public's constantly saying, "We want people to represent us. This is what we need. This is what we got." You had the perfect guy, and in a few months of graduating the police academy, he's needlessly and senselessly murdered for just doing his job, sitting in his car. Like, didn't even have a chance. Executed on the spot. Like, I get pissed. It's so irritating to me, dude. So irritating. So when people
yeah,
sit there and they're like, cops are just being paranoid. Look at all. No, we're not being paranoid. We're going off of experience. We're going off of training videos. We're going off of all the stuff that we see. As many videos as you see on the internet where you're saying cops are being corrupt or whatever because they've been clipped and edited a certain way, we're seeing training videos that aren't clipped, that aren't edited. It's the full thing of cops being gunned down. And that is what we're basing our experience and why we do what we do. So when you create something in Florida where we're saying 20 foot, like that's awesome. Like that, that's the whole knife rule,
yeah,
21-foot rule.
yep. So I mean, it's there's an organization that we have called Blue Line Bears. Are you familiar with them?
Blue line bears. No.
Yeah, it's an awesome story. So my city police department, one of their officers' daughter, after the Dallas shooting years ago, had started making these little bears and took the patches and the uniforms from those officers and sent the bears to their kids. And so she just started doing this. Hey, we just dropped. Okay.
Okay.
So,
If you're just listening, I just dropped the Blue Line Bears page on the
yep.
screen, so we're seeing it as Mike talks.
Yeah. So they do a gala every year, and I think they've got 1,500 bears delivered to different officers' children.
Okay.
And it's just going to the kids, because you got to think, and I've dealt with it a little bit, but with the military, but it's very different in the military, right? It's
Yeah.
expectations. Most of these officers, they're like you said, sitting in their car, they're on a just doing their daily duties, not thinking at all that they're going to be coming under attack that day, and all of a sudden they're just their lives ended. So
But Mike,
they,
they knew what they signed up for.
they did, but
I hate that.
it's yeah,
Hate
no,
that.
but they are, but this organization is delivering these bears to all of these kids, and it's amazing. I go to the gala and I see their video that they put up, and it is a tearjerker. Like, you
Oh, I
just
bet.
see all the families, that are there, that they got bears that go up and they give new bears to new families. It's just happening too much.
Yeah. It's
Um,
bluelinebears.org for
yeah,
anybody looking. And I usually, my website's being updated at the moment. It's going to be totally revamped for anybody listening. And I'm going to have a nonprofits page of all the nonprofits that I personally endorse. And I will be adding this one to it. So it, so just so people know, if they're looking for anything that they're like, I want to donate, I want to give my time to, or something like that, that's either local or just something that you want that's a worthy cause, and you're wondering who you should go for. And you're like, hey, I like that Levine guy. He seems to have some pretty good nonprofits he supports. So you can go to my tab and you can see all the ones that are out there and choose for yourself. Because like this, I'd never heard of this. But how else do you find out about this stuff? Like, cops need to
yeah.
be sharing this information out there. Badges for boxes is another one.
What's
Out of
that?
North Carolina, this guy, he was an officer or detective, and basically rented out this warehouse and started collecting donation items, like your everyday living things, laundry soap, toilet paper, whatever, and started setting up this warehouse from donations, and just allowing people, domestic violence survivors, whoever, homeless, like, hey, come on in, grab a cart, start grabbing some of the stuff you need, and I believe it's all free, or significantly, um, you know, priced down so
Yeah.
they can afford. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know the gist of it off the top of my head, but that's a new one that I plan to add. It's by George Wilson out of North Carolina, and yeah, badges for boxes, or badges in boxes, or something like that. And just it's like a simple idea, just like this, making a teddy bear. That's very simple, but it means so much to a lot of people.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
it's pretty cool, man. Um, but well, brother, have we hit anything that you didn't get to yet? I want to
Um,
make sure we cover everything that you want to hit.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's been great just chatting with you and
I know, man.
talking about
Catching up.
technology, talking about. I know we saw each other briefly at the
Yeah,
no real
yeah.
time center
Well,
conference.
you're kind of a big deal, so I didn't get a chance to talk to you a whole lot.
I was just there one day, so I just
I know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we saw each other, we hugged, and I was like, "All right, man. Well, big gulps, huh? See you later."
But you
Yeah.
did do a live. Did you do a live stream there as well?
Yeah, yep. I did a live stream, covered quite a few people. Tried to get Tim down there, but it just timing didn't work out. When he was available, I was on stage, doing moderation or something like that for another chat. And for those wondering what we're talking about, we had the National Real Time Crime Center Association, which is a mouthful, I know. We had our conference. This is our third annual conference, and every year it's been doubling, getting bigger, bigger every time. So this one was in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was a good time. I am not cut out for the dry desert air, apparently, because every morning I woke up like I had smoked a pack of cigarettes. My throat hurt. My voice was jacked up, and I've never smoked, so I was like, "This is terrible."
Did
Like,
you
I
get
did not.
headaches?
I didn't get headaches, but I thought I was sick every time. I thought I was sick, and drink a couple bottles of water, and by noon I was back to normal.
Yeah,
It's just
well,
dry, man.
it
Cuts
is.
you up.
You know
Yeah.
what? I know everybody's like, oh, because Florida, we're humidity. We're like,
Right.
it's like 100 degrees, 100 humidity
Yeah,
index.
just feels like a sweaty nutsack the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah,
And but in Arizona, they're like, oh, it's a dry heat. No, it's still hot. It's
it's
like
still
opening.
hot. Yeah,
Oh,
it's like
it's like opening
you're
up an
like, "Oh," a breeze comes through, and it's just like a blow dryer hitting you in the
That's
face.
right.
You're like,
Exactly it.
"That's
You're
no
like,
good."
it's still hot no matter what you
Yep.
say. But
Yeah,
it still is a good, good conference, good organization. I mean, just
yeah,
they get a lot. They always get a lot of good people coming in and speaking, and
yeah.
um,
So
and they,
do you wanna give a shout out to Iris and kind of explain what that is for people?
yeah, absolutely.
So people understand why you came out to the conference?
Yeah, so I came out to the conference. So I was on a panel with other electeds, but we also had my company Iris. We also had a booth there, and it's an RFI system. It's a system that allows agencies to communicate, track, manage a lot of their intelligence products back and forth.
Not
Um,
everybody knows what RFI stands for,
I
so
know
you gotta
request for,
explain
yeah,
just
no,
a
no,
little.
no, request for information, request for
There you go.
intelligence. But I built it. Actually, Tim and I served in Iraq together. A lot of people don't know that. So I was the guy on the ground. Tim was our analyst, and so he would submit requirements down to us, and we would submit RFIs up, and we just commercialized what we wish we would have had while we were in Iraq. Um, and that's really the essence of it. Tim he used to send us all these requirements down to, for information and different things that we had to get for him. And then we would submit requests up to him as we were going on missions, and doing different tasks. And and that's really what we did. We commercialized what we
What's
had.
y'all's website? I'm trying to find it.
irisintelgroup.com.
Ah, that's why. Of course, it was more different. Iris Intel Group. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay, now I've got it. Because unfortunately for y'all, there's several irises out there.
there is.
So I'm trying to, if I'm going to
So
share it,
Iris Intelligence Request and Information System. That's it's easier to just shorten it and call it, Iris.
yeah, there we go. And this
Yeah,
is your company, right?
yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. And your website's clean. I like it. It's better than mine. Well, we'll see. I got my new one coming, so can't wait to see that.
When's
But
it going to launch?
my cousin is this is what he does for a living. He's like he makes websites for companies like yours, like big companies and stuff. So he's slumming it with me. So he's making it for me for free. So he's like, he gets to it when he can. So we're at the final stages. We've been at the final stages for like the last 7 months, and I'm just waiting for him to finalize and we launch it. So as soon as
And
it
you're
does,
at, what,
I'll let you.
180 some episodes?
Yeah, yeah. Well, 160, I think.
160?
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Isn't that weird? I know. And it, like I said, since I promoted, it slowed way down, dude. Slowed way down. So the idea now is, get back to day shift. Once I get to day shift, then I can start knocking out episodes again, like once a week instead of 1 or 2 times a month, like I'm doing right now. So it just is what it is. The life of a cop. I can't.
Right.
This is a fun hobby that every once in a while is sustained through sponsorship. Um, that's all I really hope for, is to get enough money to cover my costs, because it this does take money out of my own pocket to run. People don't understand that and then give me shit for it. Like, man, your podcast sucks, or the trolls come out of the woodwork. I'm like, well, it
And
sucks, but you're here, and guess what? I'm doing it out of my own pocket to try to make a difference. What are you doing? So
the internet trolls.
I know, I love
They,
them.
they're there, man.
I
In politics, they're all over the place.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I've never seen them out.
yep. Well, what I do, and people love it, is anytime I get a troll that is a little more persistent than most. Like some trolls, I just ignore, um, because I can tell what they're trying to do. But a lot of trolls, I challenge them. I said, "Hey, do you have a camera and a mic?" I was like, I'll let you on. Like, well, I'll do it. You can do it from your phone. I don't even let normal guests do it from their phone. So I will let you come on and you can air your grievances about cops and we'll discuss it. And I'm not going to attack you. We're just going to talk out what your problem is with police. None of them have taken me up on it.
Oh,
Not a
of course not.
single one.
So I'm going to tell you a troll story. So when I ran for office, the first time is always the hardest, right? Because you've got a
Right.
primary, so I knocked on probably about 6,000 or so doors in my district. And so you get these trolls and they're just hammering you on the internet, just saying all sorts of stuff. And so I get my walk list from, my campaign team. They give me my walk list, I get in the car, and I'm going through, and I see this name on there, and I'm like, why does this name look familiar? It's one of my trolls.
Oh no, he used his real name.
So then I went to his house. I knocked on his door.
You got something to say now,
It
bitch?
was like a day after he just made some nasty comments about me.
Yeah. That's
And I
funny.
knocked on his door. It looked like he shit himself. Like he was.
So he recognized you.
Oh, he knew exactly who I was
You should have
right
had your
away.
phone ready. Remember this?
Oh no! And so then I pretended though. I knocked on his door and I was like, "Hey," just introduced myself, pretended like I had no clue.
Oh, okay. I like it.
And he was sweating bullets. He was. It was great. It
Nice.
was.
Did you
You
win
know,
him over?
I actually did. I
That's the
actually
best.
did. I walked
Yeah.
away, asked for his vote. He goes, "I'll be voting for you," and I'm like,
Nice.
"Yeah."
And
But
that's
it's
usually all it takes is a
yeah.
personal
Listen,
discussion.
it takes a personal
Yeah.
discussion. But
Yep.
these internet keyboard warriors that are behind that sit
Uh-huh.
there all
Yep.
day long. I mean, like, what do you do
They,
for a living? And so
yeah.
they just hound you. And
Yeah.
it's for me, it's part of being a politician. It is what it is, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't really. I
And for
just
you, it's not PC for you to go back and forth with them. But for me, all day long, and they're like, "Oh, you're really trying to bridge the gap." I'm like, "No, I try to bridge the gap with people that want to." Like that admit that they don't care for police but are willing to have a conversation. I can't do anything with a person whose glass is full and they're not willing to have a conversation.
yeah.
So if
That's right.
your glass is full and you're not willing to have a conversation, well, I'm going to have fun with you because this is my hobby and I like to I like to entertain myself by watching you go nuts. And the best part about trolls that they don't realize is that you're creating engagement for somebody that you don't like. You are helping the page that you're trying to get rid of by doing what you're doing. And I'm going to keep you going because every troll is a last word type of person. They have to get the last word every time.
Oh yeah. And then they'll post stuff, and they'll all five of their friends will like it.
Yeah.
It's,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
but
No, no, no. It's all 5 of their other accounts that like it.
that's what's funny is that they just it's not a like it, they don't like that's all they do. They sit there and
Yep.
they'll troll you, and then but they'll never come out. They'll never
Mm-mm.
So honestly, I don't engage them. There are other political folks that I know that are in the elected officials that will engage and sit there.
Yeah.
We don't have any time to sit
Right.
there on social media. I
Yeah.
probably will spend
Host and ghost.
maybe 10 minutes a week looking at social media. If I'll post a picture of my kids and I or something like that. I do
Yeah.
not get on it. I mean, I get on LinkedIn the most,
Yeah.
and that's just because of work, right? So I
Right.
use it
And
as
that's where the professionals are at.
yeah,
That's the target audience, I would say, for somebody in your shoes.
yep. No, and
Yeah.
honestly, with LinkedIn, I've never been in a negative engagement with anybody.
Yeah. Oh, I have.
Uh,
I have recently. So,
but for me, like nobody's ever come out, but on other
yeah.
platforms, Facebook or any of that ups. I mean, I get blown up. I'll go on there and just check it really quick once a week, if that, and it'll
Yeah.
just be like threads of just
Right.
talking smack, and I'm like,
I'm telling you, if I ever get one of these trolls to be on the podcast, it's gonna be one of the most popular podcasts in the world
oh, just
because they never do it. And And I truly, and I don't want people to think I'm just doing it because I want to make them look bad. I don't. I want to win them over. Like I genuinely do. That's why I do the podcast, is because I don't want to win over the people that already like cops. I want to win over the people that don't. Or I want them to win me over with a good argument. Because if you make a valid argument, I will say, you know what, you got a good point. Like, let me see what I can improve on the law enforcement side through your point. And that is what I'm always trying to do. I want to gain perspective from those that don't see eye to eye with police, because you may have a very valid point that just hasn't been put across in the right words, like the right articulation.
But I would say that most of those folks will probably 80% of the things you guys will both agree on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, and it just like most things people agree. Most people want safety and security for their family.
Mm-hmm.
Most people want their streets to be cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
Most people want those things.
Yeah.
Right. It's just how to get there, you know.
Yep.
Maybe
I
they
can,
had a bad experience with a cop or something, and they're just, putting a whole blanket over, all law enforcement officers, or just, or even all politicians, right? It happens all the time where
yeah.
they put a blanket over, and it's
I
just
convinced a guy to do a ride along with me before because he thought cops were racist. And he's like, they're pulling me over because I'm black. Da, 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 da. I was like, okay, I want you to come ride out with me. And so got him to ride out with me. And I said, all right. I was like, we're going to go pull over a car. And it's at night. So I'm trying to make him see. Like, car goes by, and I'm like, all right, that's a good one. It doesn't have a tag on it, or the tag was expired or something like that. And I said, what do you see? He's like, what do you mean what I say? I was like, when you're looking at that car, what do you see? Can you see the driver? Can you see anybody inside that vehicle? Well, no, because they got tint. I said, okay. So we pull that car over. Gave him a warning, let him go. Next one is like, all right, we'll go after a speeder. So I'm running radar. Car flies by. It's going 20 plus over, whatever. Again, and I'm having the full intentions. I'm just doing warnings that night. I'm not giving anybody tickets. I was like, all right, what color was that driver? So well, I couldn't tell. They were driving too fast. I was like, okay. So we keep going. And you're getting my point. Like, it's at night, most of the time, unless you're in the right circumstances where there's a street light over top of a car and you happen to look in through the windshield, or somebody's headlights are hitting just right, maybe you can see who's in that car. But I would say 95% of the time, you can't. But until you've taken the time to see that and see what through the lens of what us as officers are looking at, like, okay, I'm looking at the radar gun, and by the time the car's gone by, like, when did I have time to look up and see who's even in it? So it was just a matter of that perspective. And the guy's, all right, man, like, fair enough. He's like, and I didn't still fully win him over. He was like, but what about the daytime? I was like, all right. I was like, eventually we'll get to a daytime ride. I was like, but do you see where I'm getting at on the nights? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, I still, man, it's just too many, coincidences and stuff like that. I was like, well, look what area we're working in. I was like, I'm working right now in a predominantly black neighborhood. Majority of the people I pull over are going to be black, just because of the neighborhood. That's my area. I was like, but if I were to go over to, this white area where it's mostly white people living, most of the people I pull over are going to be white. And so it's just having those discussions, and he was willing to do it. And that's where I give him credit. It's like he had this idea, and then I was able to change it a little bit to kind of be like, all right.
Now you got to get them during the daytime.
Right. Yeah. That's really all it is. And it's just a perspective thing. And I think he had to digest it. I think that's what it was, is he just needed time to digest it, because never really heard anything more about it. It wasn't the, oh, I was totally wrong. You're not going to get that out of some people. And I don't think he was going to do that either, which is fine. I just think he was trying to say, like, all right, you won me over a little bit. I'll give you this. He conceded just a little, and that's all I can ask for. Yeah. Be willing. He could have been like, nah, I don't believe you. Like, I saw this part. He could have done all that, but he didn't. And I think just getting people to the table to have the discussions, the big thing. So with these trolls, again, I offer any troll that comes out, if they want to be on here, I will let them come on. Now, if they get on here and start screaming a bunch of racist stuff just to try to troll further, I'm just gonna be like, all right, well, you had your chance. I'm going to end it, and that's going to be it. It's not going to be on me. It's going to be on you. I gave you the platform. You chose to ruin it. So, but people think I'm nuts. They think I'm crazy when I post that, and I am dead fucking serious. I will put them on here, and
Live.
I hope they surprise me. I'll put them on live. I don't give a shit. I hope it works, man. But nah, man, you're right with the LinkedIn and stuff like that. Now I got an idea for you. Before we end this, because it hit me while you were talking. You don't do a whole lot of social media. You guess who else doesn't do a whole lot of social media? Most politicians. And some of the biggest problems with our politicians is we don't know what you're doing. Unless we follow you specifically, we don't see your webs. We ain't checking politicians' websites. Y'all are boring. We don't check that. But what would be cool is if, you got your phone out and you had, like, let's just say an Instagram account or your LinkedIn account. And I see, you're doing a selfie of yourself, a selfie video. Hey, this is Rep Gian Lombardo. Today I'm working on Senate Bill, da 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 da. Let me give you a quick rundown of what that is. We're talking about Chinese technology and infiltrating our stuff. We're trying to fight it. This is how we're combating it. Tell me what y'all think. Boom, cut it off. That's a minute, 2 minutes. But knowing constantly what my representative is doing, and the fact that you took, that 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, to put out a quick reel on the topic like that, I think that would go a long way. What's your thoughts?
No, listen, and there are some that do it. There are some, I'd say, like, so a bill goes through the process. It's not easy to pass a law. I just speak for Florida. It's not easy
Right.
to pass a law, right? It goes through sometimes three, four committees, right? You got a different chair at each committee.
Mm-hmm.
You got to call every member to figure out where they're at, to figure out if they, and there's multiple bills on that agenda. So you got to be able to sell this thing, to multiple stops.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of behind the scenes, work that we got to do to get that thing through.
Tell people that part. People want to know. I
Yeah,
want to know because I don't know.
yeah, I mean, listen, and when I was at the National Real Time Crime Center, and I set up at the podium, and I told them, and I told the audience, I said, listen, if you're an officer, if you're a captain, lieutenant, whatever, and you've been tasked with creating these real time crime centers, go to your local representative and ask and say, hey, is there room for any appropriation for us? And it's kind of the same thing. You got to work all that stuff through. These are things that we want to do for our community.
Yeah.
There are bills that are important to folks. Some, I can only run 7 bills a session, right? So I can't run. I've got to figure out, I got to narrow it down. I have somebody emailing me every other day. Hey, here's a bill idea. Here's a bill idea. You got, lobbyists doing that as well. And then you have community members that are doing it. And then, there's certain things though. I'll tell you, I had a constituent come to me, and she hates vacation rentals. She goes,
Like Airbnbs.
yeah, she's like, I don't want them in my community. I don't want them here. I don't want them this. I said, so what do you do about private property rights? What if the government came in and told you what to do with your property?
I don't think they can.
No,
I don't think they should.
No. It's the same thing with vacation rentals, right?
Yeah.
If somebody wants to Airbnb their home out, do they got to register as a business? Do they got to do some? Yes, right.
Yeah.
There's some things that they got to do, but I mean that's their private property,
Right.
You like, we are not going to take that away, your rights away from you.
Yeah.
I certainly don't believe in that.
I don't either.
So I'm telling a constituent, all of these other things and at the end she walked away and she goes, I didn't think about all that. She goes, I just don't like vacation rentals. And I said, because maybe you're fighting for your property rights because you got a vacation rental next to you and you hate it, right? But the truth is that there's a lot of other things that happen, and sometimes it's probably it's good. We do town halls, we do all these things. Right now I'm doing town halls. Listen, I love the Texas model, the single member districts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about there?
All
right. So in Texas, you guys have Each county has 4 single member county commissioners slash judges, right? And then you have 1 at large. So every county in Texas is the same. It's rooted in your constitution.
Okay.
In Florida, my county is like 750,000, 800,000 people. We have 5 county commissioners that represent a district, but are all at large voting. So everybody votes for all of them. So I'll give you an example. You have one commissioner, maybe they represent this, part of Cape Coral, but they're still voted in at large. So their district could have voted for the other person, but they still win the seat. So the person that your district voted for, but in Texas, you have your 4 single member, so each district gets to vote on who they want their commissioner to be,
Right.
and then there's an at-large one.
Okay.
It's kind of the county judge.
Right.
So I'm actually right now in the process of changing my county to single member, and I'm working on some things that I'm working on to try to get there, because we have we have our own challenges here locally, but the reality is that you want to be able to call on your representative to help you with whatever it is. Maybe it's as little as a road to to some state policy. But here in Lee County, you have 5 that are all elected countywide, but not. So I'm trying to change some of those things like that. Structure of government, I think, is huge.
That's what I was gonna say. Good luck. That's an uphill battle, baby.
No, but I think that
That's how we've always done it. You know that saying.
Once I change it, I'll let you know, and then we can.
Hell yeah.
Chat.
You can do it. I told you so, bitch.
That's right. That's right. So, but
I like it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. But
cool. Well, all right, brother.
We're working on stuff.
Well, we've been going for about an hour 40, and I got nothing else on the top of my head. I think we had a good discussion today.
Yeah, it was good.
I liked it.
Yeah.
As I say, any shout outs or anything you want to get?
Oh, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim. You better tag him in this. Tag him when you send it out.
Oh, yeah. When this posts, yeah, for sure. Once we end the stream, we can actually tag him in it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Because
I know he's on there. Watch the very end of it because we mentioned you.
John Barker, one of my regulars, said, sorry, I'm late as fuck. He said, love and respect for all law enforcement officers all over. I appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, and everybody's going to be late on this one, John. Nobody knew we were doing it. Me and Mike had the discussion before we got started. It's like, hey, you want to do this live? And he's like, hey, man, send it. Let's go. I was like, all right, cool. So if you are just joining, we're gonna wrap it up right here. But thanks for joining us. But if you're just joining, this is Mike Gianlombardo. He is the 72nd district, 79th district?
79th.
79th district. It's going off the top of my head. 79th district House of Representatives in Florida. And one of my buddies, we met about 3 years ago at IACP. Where'd we meet? Or was it just the conference? Maybe it was it was.
It was in Scottsdale.
It was in Scottsdale.
But at the baseball stadium.
Yeah. It was
the first one.
Yeah, it wasn't like our official inaugural one yet. It was like us trying to test the waters on having a conference, and everybody was in the same room. Because remember, we punked Tim. Well, I punked Tim. Called him out. Tim had a little too much to drink the night before.
He did. But you know what I like is I think you were the moderator.
I was MC. Yeah, I MC'd that.
Oh, and you were destroying people up there.
I know.
Just calling them out. I'm like, oh man, they're never gonna let them do it again. But they let you. It's good.
Yeah. Well, they don't let me MC like they did. I get to moderate like certain groups, but they don't let me moderate anybody what they consider like high profile, which is bullshit. Because those high profile people would love it. Most of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't you interview what's the guy who ran for U.S. Senate?
Lamb. Mark Lamb.
Mark
Yeah.
Lamb.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're very similar. I'm actually on a text thread with him, his number 2, Matt Thomas, and Frank Slope, which is Fridays with Frank. If you've ever seen any of his clips, they're all there out of Pinell County in Arizona, and they're just
With what?
Fridays with Frank. You never seen Fridays with Frank?
No.
Oh my God. Before we go, we're going to watch one Fridays with Frank clip because you are going to be addicted to watching him after this. Let me see here. Fridays with Frank.
Is he a cop too?
Yep. He's right there in Pinell County. Okay, let me share this. You're going to love this stuff, dude. Okay. Shout out to Frank out in Pinell County. Fridays with Frank. This is on his YouTube channel. I don't even know what this video is, but we're going to watch it. It's 3 minutes 57. 3 minutes 57 seconds. Top 16.
Yeah, with Arizona.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
See your driver's license, please. All right, well, I'm Deputy Slope. I work for the Pinell County Sheriff's Office Traffic Unit. The reason I stopped you is you are at a criminal amount of speed, and that's unacceptable here in Pinell County. All right, see your registration paperwork, current proof of insurance. Turn down your, there we go. Your ghetto speeding anthem there is not going to work today. Still live on? I'm sorry?
That's my mailing address.
Okay.
That's my apartment.
So that's your, that's,
That's my title.
yeah, you don't need that one. Title probably shouldn't be in here. All right, with a K. What's your current address?
Yeah, you don't want your title in your
You have
car,
current
guys.
proof of insurance in there somewhere?
Proof of insurance. No. It's on my phone. Mind if I call my mom real quick to ask her for it?
How old are you?
18. She handles.
Call your mom. Also tell her to start baking you some cookies because you're coming home. You're gonna be hungry. All right, with a K. Did mom provide some insurance?
Yes.
I had faith that mom was gonna come through. Let's see what we got here. Yep. No, mom's good. Mom got it. Mom saved you.
My mom always does.
Mom, that's what moms are for, man. What's a good phone number for you?
520. As soon as I seen the car too, I was like, I'm stupid. And then I was like, I watch you on Facebook all the time too. I knew it.
You do?
I knew it once I seen the car.
Ah, that's okay. Well, on the bright side, you're super cool with me, so I'm not going to take you to jail for your criminal speed, right? Hopefully, mom makes some awesome cookies. You go home, get some chocolate chip cookies, maybe a little glass of milk. She will help you get over the criminal ticket that I wrote you for going 36 miles an hour over the speed limit. Woo. So I got you locked in a radar at 86 and a 50. RMP stands for reasonable and prudent. That's always what the posted speed limit is. So you didn't update your address on either your registration or your driver's license, and you're required to.
Okay.
It actually, on the back of your license, I'm going to show you, it actually says you have to report a change of address.
Okay.
Right there. You only have 10 days to do it. So you have to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so make sure you do that. Make sure you show the court proof of that when you go in for your court date. I'm going to give you a copy of this, so you'll have it. Your court date is the 29th of December. It's a Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's in Cottonwood, right on Cottonwood Lane.
Okay.
And you got to appear there, talk to the judge, tell him why. Like, I get it. Mom was at home. She's making delicious hot chocolate chip cookies. I would also want to get there in a hurry so I can get them while they're still warm. And I get that. At the same time, a criminal amount of speed is too fast to get to mom's cookies.
Yep.
Okay? I need you to sign right there. By signing, all you're saying is that you promise to appear. Yes, sir. And that you're not going to not appear. You have to appear. Okay? All right. All right. Okay. This right here is your driver's license registration, your copy of the ticket. So you have all the information I explained to you. As I stand here right now, are there any questions I can answer for you as I stand at your window?
Am I going to be on your Facebook page? Please don't.
The cameraman might say yes. He might say yes. I don't know.
Look back at the camera.
Oh, he's out there, man. Look, you got a little mic here, so he hears everything you say and everything I say. So you might be on there, man. You might be on my page, on my personal page. You might be on the sheriff's office page. You never know, man. You know, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for being cool. So, you got any other questions or anything?
No, that was it.
All right, man. Be good. Drive safe today.
I love it, dude. It's so good. He does so like he basically just says everything that us as cops think, but we typically don't say. Sheriff's departments can get away with it though, versus a city cop, because sheriffs, for those that don't know, sheriffs are elected. It's elected position. So
Oh, yeah.
if you are okay with your officers doing and saying this stuff, like, I mean, I don't think it's unprofessional at all, but some people do.
That wasn't unprofessional.
I didn't think it was either. And he takes time to educate.
No,
And that's
listen,
which is my forte. That's what I like to do. I mean, that was the whole purpose of us today, is trying to educate people on, the technology and the issues that we're having and we're facing, because people don't know that stuff.
I think by using the whole, mom with chocolate chip cookies, I mean,
Beautiful.
I think honestly it de-escalates the whole thing. Like, it
Right.
makes
Especially if you're 18 years old. You can vote. You are a grown adult. You can sign up for service. Like, you
awesome.
should not be dependent on mom. And I'll admit it, I was probably the same way as a kid. I probably, well, let me ask my mom, but I didn't have the same technology that they have now, where I think they're even more dependent.
All right, so you sold me. I'm gonna go watch some Frank videos.
Oh, dude, watch him. He's great. Got to see him. He came out while we were there in Scottsdale.
Okay.
Yeah, he came out and
I'll
visited.
have to text Mark and just be like, hey, listen.
Dude, I can get you hooked up. Shoot, I'll add you to the group text. You'll have a blast. It's fun. But anyway,
right,
buddy.
Well, I
all right, bro.
Yeah,
just as we end this, when this ends, we'll just stick around for a second. We'll chat offline.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you for paying attention to us. We appreciate you. Mike, thanks for being on, buddy.